So in a couple of days, I'm doing a audio system installation at a restaurant. And when you're bidding a job, the first question by the owner is, once you give them the price, is, you know, why does it cost that? Why does it cost so much? Why do I need this sound system, expensive sound system in my restaurant? Why can't I go to, some big box store, order something online or Costco and just get some cheap little sound system, a couple little speakers, and for a couple $100, and that's all I need? Why do I need to spend this kind of money on a sound system? And the answer is you don't need to, but if you want to have good sound and good audio levels, you do, okay? Because if you don't, okay, if you use something that's made for a residential application or for your home and try to use it in a commercial application, you're going to have problems with that. So it's not going to work out. And let me explain why, okay? I'm going to draw out the dining room here, and there's a bar, okay? Here's the front door, some bar stools here. This is the bar. This is the dining room. Okay, the dining room is fairly large. I think it's 32 feet by 30 or something like that. Okay, so let's just say I put some cheap speakers in here, right? Just some kind of residential product, whatever. Not made for a restaurant. Okay, I got my left, I got my right, I got my left, and I got my right. Okay, well, let's say I have a dining room table here and a dining room table here. Okay, well, the first problem you can see is that this is going to be really loud, and then this is going to be very quiet, okay? So straight up, that's the first problem, okay? Our audio levels are going to be wrong. This person's going to say, hey, turn the sound up, I can't hear it. And this person's going to say, no, it's too loud. Okay. But our second problem is that when music is recorded by an engineer, okay, they pan, what they call panning, they pan elements of the music left and right to give you the feeling that you're there listening to music live, right? The vocalist might be in the center, a guitar player might be on the left, a keyboard player might be on the right. So when you sit at home, okay, and you're listening to your stereo sound system, because we have a left and right ear, right? They're trying to recreate that live sound, right? To make you feel like you're there, like you're immersed in sound, right? Well, the problem is that, in a restaurant, okay, or in commercial application, there's no central listening position, okay? At home, you'll be sitting in the center and you'll be listening left and right, okay? But in a restaurant, for example, right, we're just walking around the room. Some people might be sitting here, some people might be sitting there. They're sitting all over the place, right? So if a table's sitting here and they're just listening to this one speaker, right, then they're missing elements of the music. They're missing, maybe the keyboard player was on the right, panned to the right, or maybe an effect or whatever. Okay, even take music that you're familiar with and listen to it on one speaker, it's going to sound weird, like something's missing, because there is things missing. You're not hearing elements of the music, okay? There's no central listening position here in a restaurant, okay? So that's the second problem. Number one is the levels, okay? And distributing the audio evenly throughout the room. And the next problem is that we don't want to listen to just one speaker. We don't want stereo in a commercial application, okay? We want a 70-volt system, and we want summed audio, S-U-M, summed audio, summed audio, okay? And the 70-volt, okay? And let's redraw the room, okay? Right? So I'm going to be using ceiling speakers, okay? Let's just say I got four ceiling speakers. I said I had a 9, and I will, and I'll draw that out in a second, okay? But let's talk about summed audio, right? Summed, what does that mean, okay? In a stereo system, we have a left and we have a right, okay? But because we need to hear everything from one speaker, okay? Summed audio takes left and it takes right, and it puts it into one speaker. So now we have left and right combined into one speaker. Now, what does that mean? That means that you're going to hear everything from one speaker, okay? If I have a dining room table directly underneath this, okay, speaker, I can hear everything, okay? Now, the downside to that having everything coming out of one speaker is that, you don't get, you can technically say it doesn't sound as good. Okay, it sounds adequate for a commercial application. Yeah, it doesn't sound good if you were sitting in a listening position, listening to left and right, and getting that stereo width and then that full immersion in the sound. You're not going to get that with this, but you're going to hear everything, and it's not going to make the music sound weird as if you were listening to one speaker. So yeah, the downside to having everything in one speaker is that, yeah, it's not as good as immersive as listening, being situated in the middle, listening left and right. Okay, but it doesn't sound that bad. I mean, it doesn't sound bad. It's just, it's different, I guess you could say. Okay, so this person here now, okay, let's see, you have a dining room table here and a dining room table here, and they're underneath the speaker here, right? Now, they're not going to be like this situation. They're going to be hearing everything, okay? They're going to be hearing everything, okay? No matter, they can be sitting here, wherever, they're going to hear the left and right channel going to there, okay? Now, I've done 4 speakers here, right? But realistically, we need more. Why do we need more speakers? Well, a speaker is like a light, right? A speaker is like a light. It spreads sound like a light spreads light, basically, right? So in order to spread the sound out evenly throughout the room, we need to add more speakers, because you could not illuminate, right, a whole room with just 4 lights like that. There would be dark spots here, there would be dark spots here, there would be dark spots everywhere, right? We need to add more light or more sound to the room, okay? Which comes to the next question is, I need 9 speakers. Isn't that going to make my room sound, the volume louder? Is it going to be like blaring loud? It's going to be too loud. No, having more speakers allows you to keep the sound more quiet and lower the volumes, okay? Because you can distribute the sound evenly throughout the room, much like if you had more lights in the room, you could dim the lights down lower, and the light is more even throughout the room, okay? So adding more speakers will not make it sound louder. It's going to make it sound better and more quiet with having more speakers, okay? Okay? So now, let's just say we have another dining room table here, right? Okay? Well, kind of this situation, we're back to like, this is now going to sound loud here for this person, but the person sitting here will say, hey, turn the audio system up. I can't hear what's going on there. I can't hear. Right, turn it up, and this person say, oh, it's too loud. So that's why I'm going to add an additional speaker here, okay? In a real world, the dining room table is probably not going to be centered over the speaker like that, but it'll be wherever, you know what I'm saying? So there's actually 6 speakers, there's actually 9 going in here, okay? You can see the effect here, right? It's spreading the sound evenly throughout the room. So now this person is more equidistant to this speaker and this speaker and this speaker, and they're hearing elements of each speaker more evenly versus trying to do with less speakers. Yeah, you can do it with less speakers, but now, you're back to the same problem here. This person is going to be too loud, this person too quiet. So that's why there's 9 speakers going in here to distribute the audio more evenly, okay? So that's that, okay? Now let me talk about really quick about 70 volt, okay? So we talked about audio summing. Let's talk about 70 volt, okay? 70 volt, let me just redraw my ceiling speakers here, right? Okay, in a typical installation, right? Cheap sound system, you need to wire each speaker independently, okay? Now you can do things like, when the speaker's in series or parallel, and you need to know, like, what's my ohms going to be like in an 8 ohm system and this and that, okay? But that gets too complicated, right? You could wire this speaker to this speaker and that speaker, and you need to calculate ohms and all that kind of stuff. It just gets so complicated. In a 70 volt system, okay, here's your amplifier, right? 1 wire, like that, daisy chain each speaker. I need to run one wire to each speaker, and then 1 wire over to my bar speakers. And that's it, 1 wire. They daisy chain, go from one speaker to the next, okay? Not only that, I can use smaller gauge wiring. In fact, I can have hundreds of feet of wire, even maybe 1,000 feet of wire, okay, on a small gauge wire. I can have 50 speakers hooked up, 100 speakers, right? As long as I don't exceed the power output of the amplifier, right? So let's say it's 120 watts times 2, okay? Then my 70 volt speakers have a tap on them, okay? So let's say 15 watts, 7 watts, 5 watts, you can select the wattage of the speaker, okay? So let's just say, let's say I run all these speakers at 5 watts, right? Or 7 watts or whatever, okay? As long as that wattage, the combined wattage of the speakers doesn't exceed the wattage of the amplifier, I'm good, okay? In fact, I should give myself some headroom, okay? I should give, let's say I should only do 100 watts, right? Give myself 20 watts headroom, okay? So all you need to do is run one wire and add the wattage of those speakers up, okay? Because there's a tap on them that you can like select each whatever wattage, okay? And then it makes ease of installation so easy, right? One wire, 2 wires literally to the whole thing, and then you have little wires in between, okay? It's easy versus independently wiring or wiring this speaker to that speaker and then coming up with your load impedance calculations and 8 ohms this and 4 ohms. You don't need to know any of that. You just connect them up and make sure it doesn't exceed, okay? So yeah, 70-volt systems cost more, but the installation is much more simplistic, okay? Because I'm just running just 2 wires basically for the whole thing. So that's the benefit of that. And let's see what else. Seeing layout, and that's about it. I mean, that's why we do 70-volt systems. They're simplistic. They're easy to install. They do cost a little bit more. The speakers generally cost a little bit more too because they have the taps on them, so they're a little bit more complex than, say, an 8 ohm speaker. But that's why we do it. So I think that's it. I think that covers everything. Thanks for watching.